Hey everybody out there, this is Freeman Sullivan. We're right across the street from City Hall, and I'm about ready to make my endorsement here for President, Vice President, Congress, on all your propositions. And this is my cameraman Ahmed, and he'll be working the camera here, so let me hand the camera over, and we'll get started. I get the City Hall behind me here. And just look on it, and you'll get the thing. Yeah, let it stand at the ground. Anyway, I brought a ballot with me. I sent off for an absentee ballot, and they sent it to me on Saturday, so there's no chance I'd be able to drop it in the mail, right? But it worked out for the best because now I have the California ballot here, and I'm going to give you a rundown on some of the important issues that we're going to be voting on here in this general election. The number one issue, I guess it's on everybody's mind, is will Obama or Romney win? Yeah, here's the ballot. This is one page. It's a 4-page ballot. So just to let you know what's going on here. And I brought my marker with me. Okay. Anyway, it says take a pen and run it across the arrow. So, getting back to the elections, if elections really change anything, they'd be illegal. But there are certain things I do support, which is the California voting process for our initiatives. That's how we got Proposition 215, medical marijuana. So the process is valid. We'll get down to that in a second. First of all, I'm going to vote for president here, and we have a choice of Gary Johnson and James P. Gray, the judge, Orange County judge, who supported medical marijuana. He was a federal judge. We have Roseanne Barr and Cindy Sheehan, Barack Obama and Joseph Biden, Jill Stein and Sherry Hunkla, which is the Green Party, Thomas Hopling and Robert Ornelas, and Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan. Well, it's pretty obvious that I don't support the presidency in any form, so if I'm going to vote for somebody, I'm going to give it to Roseanne. Number one, I'm not going to waste my vote. I don't feel like I'm wasting my vote for president. And I like Roseanne, and I think she could do a better job than either Barack Obama or, who's that other idiot, Mitt Romney. She could do a better job than either one of those two guys. And I know she wouldn't call in the police against occupiers, so definitely going to vote for her. Now we have the Senate. Dianne Feinstein, our Democratic candidate, longtime U.S. Senator. I think she's getting kind of senile. And Elizabeth Enkin. And it's really weird whenever you write her about any kind of issue, any kind of progressive issue, and I have emailed her a few times in the past, her office, and generally is like, I support your right to disagree with me, but I'm going to vote this way on the issue. And so definitely not going to vote for Feinstein. And she's also part of the 1%, the richest Americans in the United States. So definitely not going to support anybody who's a billionaire. Her husband, Richard Blum, he's on our most wanted list of criminals that are ripping off the public. So she's not getting my vote, and I'm definitely not going to be voting for any Republicans. So when it comes to United States Senator, I'm going to not vote because I don't support either one of these candidates. Now our next thing is a representative. We have the incumbent Nancy Pelosi, former Speaker of the House. Looks like she's going to be, if she's reelected, she will become Speaker again because it looks like the Democrats are going to be in the majority in the House of Representatives. So she'll probably be our next Speaker. But she's too beholden to the 1%. She is a member of the 1%. So she's not going to be getting my vote. And there's no third-party candidates that are running in the state of California. If there was a Green Party candidate or a Peace and Freedom, I would show them my support and vote for them. Since they're not on the ballot, you don't get a chance to vote. And I'm definitely not going to be voting for independent businessman John Dennis. So that's all the federal ballots, President, Senate, and House of Representatives. So I'm not voting for any of those last two. But now we're going to move on. We have uh, our state offices, and here in San Francisco we have state senator and state assemblyman. And this is one part of California that I do like, and I do support Mark Leno, who's running for re-election. Mark Leno has always been very responsive to the needs of his constituency here in San Francisco.
Okay, are you coming out here later?
I totally support what he's doing. So I'm going to be voting for Mark Leno here, as you can see. I'm going to mark my little arrow. There. So Mark Leno gets my vote over Harmeet K. Dillon, who's a civil rights attorney. Sounds good, but he's Republican, so Mark Leno's getting the vote on that aspect. And just to let you know, if you want to tweet out, which is what we probably should be doing, there's a little button in the lower right-hand corner of the screen, and if you hit that, it'll come up with another thing. And if you'll hit here, let me see, and I'll tweet it out real quick here, so we can get more people to maybe watch out. So if you hit that one right there, that's all you got to do, and we tweet it out. And we're going to move on here. Now we definitely going to vote for Mark Leno. Totally support him. He's been a really good candidate. Maybe supports the Democratic machine a little too much here in the Bay Area, or San Francisco. This is the only place in the country where you would see Democrats as being part of the establishment, whereas generally when you're in most parts of the United States, Democrat means liberal. Well, in our San Francisco, we have much more radical politics. So what is left here is usually, or what is right here would be considered to be the left in most places. So remember that. Our next candidate to vote for, I'm not going to yell over the bus. Our next candidate to vote for is for State Assembly here in District 17. And we have a choice between Tom Amiano and Jason P. Clark, who I've never heard of. By the way, Republicans only amount to maybe, the registered Republicans are maybe 18% here in San Francisco, and that's being generous. It's about 60% Democrat, 10% Green, 10% Peace and Freedom, and Republicans are, actually I think Republicans are less. So they really have no power here in San Francisco, thank goodness. I'm definitely going to be voting for Tom Amiano. He's always been very supportive of medical marijuana. Been very supportive of poor people here in San Francisco and families. And definitely going to get my vote. He's been a writer of very influential legislation. And he's a really smart guy and a really good politician. Generally don't support politicians, but he's always been a man of his word. And following up what he said he's going to do. So I will give him that much support, and I'll vote for him in this election. So now we're going to be moving on to our nonpartisan offices. I really don't know a whole lot about the school district. I do know Jill Waynes I've heard of her before. She does serve on the school board, and I do believe well, we have to contend with a lot of noise pollution here in San Francisco, that's for sure. Jill wins. I'm going to vote for her. And I don't really know a lot about the rest of the candidates, so I'm going to abstain from voting on them. You get to vote for up to 4, but I'm not going to vote for people that I really don't know. I'm not going to take a shot at it or anything like that. So, and I don't really know anything about Sandra Lee Pure, but I do know Jill wins, and I support her. And now we have the Community College Board. Now this could be problematic. We're having a real problem here in the city with the City College of San Francisco. They're trying to privatize it, or they're going to cut the budget, and that's a real problem here in San Francisco because City College is the largest college in the state of California, and one of the largest community colleges in the United States. They have over 96,000 students are enrolled there, and this is a real good place for people, young people that are trying to learn job skills, that are trying to try to do better economically so they can compete with the rest of the world in the job market. And it's really important to keep City College open. When I first moved here to San Francisco, City College used to be free. Like you could go to college, the only thing you had to pay for was your books. And it's not that way anymore. They're charging, it's expensive just to go to City College now, which it shouldn't be that way. Education should be free, in my opinion. If you want to go to college and you have the talent to go to college, you should be able to go to college free of charge. It's beneficial to society. It's really stupid not to want to invest in the future. And so it's really important here for City College. And good lords, I'm really ignorant on this because I'm not sure who I want to vote for. I'm definitely not going to be voting for Raphael Mandelbaum because he's part of the Democratic machine. And they really haven't shown us any support on City College. So I'm not going to support any of these candidates. And I did. More noise pollution courtesy of our fire department. So I'm going to stay out of that voting. And I wouldn't vote. And if you haven't really looked it up and you haven't really studied the issue, I would say don't vote at all. Don't take a chance. Now we got our next one here is for BART director. And I really feel like BART is being mismanaged. So I can't really give, I'm not going to condone any support for the incumbent Tom Radulovich, so he doesn't get my show of support. And as the other candidates, we have a mobility manager named Luke Lucas, who I know a little bit about, and being someone who's disabled, we'll be voting with that because as far as BART being accessible for people with disabilities, they have elevators, but maybe I shouldn't vote and say that I'm just going to vote generally on that issue alone, that BART is definitely not disabled accessible to people. And generally you have to put in twice as much effort to be disabled and get into BART than when you're not handicapped, which doesn't make sense. Like if you're disabled, it should be twice as easy to do something, but it's not, it's twice as hard. So Luke Lucas is going to get my vote. So now we filled out part one of the ballot. So I'm going to stop here for a second. I'm really having to speak up over all this traffic noise and all this other stuff, so I hope you can hear me well enough. So that's out of the way. Moving on here. I want to tweet out. You get the third one down on the right hand side, the one, the networking one. All right. Wait. That just lets people know that we're live streaming.
Okay, so we're still doing it?
Yeah, we're still on. You haven't hit the stop button, so I like to keep throwing through. The nice thing about live streaming is that production is less important, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have to be perfect. And being a human being, definitely not perfect. Well, you're perfect, but in a different way. Okay, we're moving into page 2. I realize most of you are asleep right now, so wake the fuck up. This is important. This is your right, and what's sad, one of the reasons why San Francisco is such a great city to live in is because when we have an election here, 80% of the people turn out to vote, which is pretty good here in the United States. Most cities, most places, less than half the people vote. So if you live in a shitty place and you're wondering why things are so shitty and why you're having such a hard time, and you don't have things like we have here in San Francisco, like universal health care, we have good programs for people that are trying to get off the street. Yet another emergency vehicle. Anyway, one of the reasons why we have such a great fire department and whatnot, and we have all these services that are not available in most cities, is because people come out here and vote. And not just voting, but they're interested in politics. They take an active interest in what's going on. I'm not saying everybody, but more people here do are involved in politics in just about any other city in the country, in the United States, which is pretty famous for apathy and voter apathy. But we don't have that here in San Francisco. So if you're wondering why things are fucked up, now you know the reason. Okay? A temporary tax to fund education. This is Proposition 30. And oddly enough, when Prop 213 was a big issue back in the 1977 election, and the people voted to have their property taxes reduced. And ever since that was passed, there's been a lot of problems with California. Our health system has declined. Our educational system has declined. I don't know if you realize it or not. These same freaking people in their lousy mopeds. Loud city. Anyway, getting back to the subject, our services have declined out here in California as a result. If you're anywhere else in California, getting medical care is a real problem because they don't have universal health care. The educational situation has become totally abysmal. It costs almost as much to go to University of California as it does to go to most private institutions anywhere else. It's ridiculous what it takes to get an education here. Trying to find public housing is like almost impossible. Anything that's government funded by the state, our state is like $7 billion in the hole. Anybody who's an occupier knows that debt is artificial and bullshit. But the state of California is broke, and there's going to have to be some kind of massive cuts in everything, and they've already cut everything to the bone as it is. So where are you going to cut? It's going to be cutting the fire department. It's going to be cutting police departments, which I think is a good thing. But fire department, no, we need to keep the fire department fully funded. Most of our public health is going to go down the toilet. And there's a real thing, and I'm not a real big supporter of Jerry Brown. I think he's kind of a jerk, but he is a pretty smart guy. And when it comes to the day-to-day operations of the California budget, the man knows what he's doing. He's probably got more experience than anybody else in the state of California when it comes up to drawing budgets. He's been governor twice already, and I did support him. I did vote for him. So I'm going to have to say that for Prop 30, I'm going to have to say yes. We're going to need this budget thing to pass because we need to keep funding places like here at the Board of Education, right, which Department of Public Health, because it's a necessary public service that keeps San Francisco running, keeps people healthy. And we have to invest in things like that because in the long run, it's cheaper to invest now in public health and education than it is in the long term, because most people don't really figure out the long-term cost of things, and they're only interested in short-term gains, which is an ill of capitalism, because they're only interested in short-term profit rather than long-term investment. So definitely Prop 30 is going to get a yes. So I'll support Jerry Brown on that one. Now we're back to Prop 31 here, which is a constitutional amendment establishing a 2-year state budget, sets rules for offsetting new expenditures. Local governments can alter application of laws governing state, decreases state tax revenue with corresponding increases of funding of local governments. More significant changes, it sounds kind of complicated. I think I'm going to stay out of that one. And I'm kind of leaning towards no, but no, I'm not going to vote on it. And it's okay not to vote on something. Like, there's no law that says you have to vote for everything. So in case you're wondering, you can vote for as much or as little as you want. Now we get to 32. Prop 32 is anti-union. It was written up by a bunch of anti-union people, corporations. And most notably, Hyatt Regency was one of the big supporters. So if you're coming to San Francisco and need a place to stay, please do not stay at any Hyatt Regency hotel, any Hyatt hotel. Notoriously anti-union, one of the big funders of this Prop 32, which is not going to allow unions to make payroll deductions from their union members, which is a right, should be a right of a union. If you're joining a union, you should be allowed to take out money from your paycheck and give it to your union, support your union. So prohibits unions from using payroll deducted funds for political purposes. So we're going to vote no on that. It's kind of tricky because if you're going to support the unions, you vote no. If you vote yes on this, you're supporting large corporations, and that's not what we want. As much as you may or may not like unions, if it wasn't for unions, you wouldn't have an 8-hour day, you wouldn't have a 40-hour work week, you wouldn't have health benefits if you have someone in your job. So no matter how much you hate unions, we're responsible for a lot of good things that happen here in society, and stuff that you probably, even cops have a union. So we're going to vote no on that. We don't want that to happen. And they were sneaky. And they said prohibits unions from making payroll deductions rather than saying prohibits, it encourages. Anyway, the wording is kind of two-faced. So definitely going down with no on that. They want to trick you. So you got to watch out. Okay, now we got auto insurance. Allows auto insurance companies to set prices. I vaguely remember insurance companies is one of the biggest scams going. They already got a free ride because everybody, to be insured, you have to have insurance. You have to have insurance to have a car and register your car and operate your vehicle. So they've got a monopoly on the way things are going right now. So I'm not going to support the insurance industry any more than what they're getting right now. So definitely no on 33. Oh, in case you're wondering, it's a lovely day outside here today. Nice 75 degrees. It's not usually this warm. Okay, now we got the death penalty. And man, I'm morally opposed to the death penalty 100%. I think it's wrong to execute people. Being a person that's devoted to nonviolence, it totally runs against everything that I believe in. Killing people. I don't want the state doing it in my name. I don't care how much of a need you have for retribution. It's better to forgive. But I don't think that people that are murderers convicted murderers, deserve a chance to be walking around us because they're too dangerous. So there has to be some kind of solution. And right now, as a society, the only solution that we really have is by incarcerating these people who are convicted, which means beyond a reasonable proof of doubt. But even then, you have mistakes that are made. And in many states, such as Texas, or Louisiana, or Florida, which are execute people on a regular basis, there's been definite evidence where people were exonerated after they were executed. So there's always a chance you're going to execute somebody who's not guilty. And years later, they find out that those people were falsely imprisoned. So, if anything, I would support the abolishment of the death penalty. And most civilized countries, or most Western countries, I shouldn't say civilized, most Western nations in the world don't have death penalty. So I don't support it. I want to repeal the death penalty and replace it with life imprisonment without possibility of parole. Right now, that's the sanest solution. Another thing, reason not to support the death penalty, not to support it, is that it ends up costing lots and lots more money than just keeping somebody incarcerated for the rest of their life. I don't really think that's very fair. I don't think all murderers should be locked up for the rest of their life, because I do believe in the redemption and that people can change. Some people can. So I want to repeal the death penalty, so I'm going to vote yes. Let's get rid of it. It's barbaric. We don't need it anymore. Our next one is human trafficking. Increases prison sentences and fines for human trafficking convictions. Requires convicted human traffickers to register as sex offenders. I'm not really down with this. I think the laws we already got already too much, so I'm going to vote no. I don't really want to get into discussion about this. I'm not for human trafficking, I believe. I mean, you would be surprised how much your life as an American citizen depends on slavery. When you buy a can of Coca-Cola, or you buy a pair of sneakers, or a shirt, or an iPod, or something like that, you're supporting slavery. Like, pretty much, as an American, I would say if you're part of the 1%, or you're part of the top 10%, let's say, for instance, about 90% of your existence is funded through slavery. Somebody else in the world had to be a slave for what you're doing. But most of this human trafficking is devoted to sex crimes, and I really feel like that's overly emphasized a lot of times in society, and then a lot of your conservative use this as a wedge issue, and so I'm going to vote no. I'm going to vote it down. I don't want to hear any stuff about human trafficking. Case closed. Next thing is three strikes law. I'm morally, I think that the law is overly broad. Three strikes, a lot of people get thrown in jail for ordering a pizza and not paying for it. And that has happened, believe it or not, where like people had to, there's actually people serving life sentences in the state of California for stealing a pizza. Life imprisonment. So, and three strikes, it was kind of sneakily passed. They were using that whole issue with that little girl up in Sonoma County who was kidnapped and murdered. And they used that popular sentiment, as a way of passing this law. And what has happened with three strikes is that it overcrowded our prisons. There's a lot of people that shouldn't be doing life imprisonment and don't deserve to do a life imprisonment. Stealing's one thing, killing somebody's another. Raping somebody's another. And it's just simply there's too many people in prison. It's used as a weapon against minority communities, like especially the black community. So I'm not going to be down with supporting this at all. I think three strikes is wrong. We already got enough laws on the books already to deal with the problem. Adding this does not help the situation. It's created gladiator arenas in our state institutions. Lots of people get murdered in prison. It's inhumane. So I don't support this. I think three strikes should be repealed. Just on that alone. So vote repeal three strikes. So make sure I do this right. Requires a law to oppose licenses only when the issue is serious or violent. Now, serious, that could mean a lot of things, but violence, I'm definitely not down with, so we're going to vote yes. All right. Now we're moving on to the one, my favorite one, which is the one about GMOs. Requires companies to list on their products whether they have used a GMO as a genetically mutated organism. Most notably, a company that comes to mind is Monsanto. They're totally evil. There's nothing. They're like the mad scientists that you see in the horror movies. That's pretty much what their whole scene is about. It's nice having the monopod. So this 37 is definitely one that I've been real interested in. My main reason for coming down here to vote is this particular proposition. Requires labeling of food sold to consumers made from plants or animals with genetic material changed in specified ways. Prohibits marketing such food or other processed food as natural. One of the big things of modern capitalism is the way they've been able to co-opt the green movement and say a car like, it's ridiculous to say a car like a Prius is actually green, because it still is belching out greenhouse gases. So there has to be a real need to label things properly. And a lot of these companies come out and say they're organic when they have genetically modified organisms, which is not organic in any way, shape, or form. So yes, and when you ask your average ordinary person what a GMO is, they don't even know. And they don't even know that, like most foods that you eat, have GMOs in them, especially junk food. Or if you go to McDonald's, for instance. So the public needs to be educated on this. I know that this was the most heavily spent on initiative after the president here in the state of California. There's a lot of corporate money riding on this. Billions of dollars are being spent in commercial advertising alone. So my favorite issue, I can't say to support this enough, everybody. Yes, 137. Uh-oh. Marker is running out. Okay. Boy, now we're moving up to Prop 30. I didn't realize voting was going to take this long, did you? It doesn't when you're in the thing. Best thing to do is bring a little cheat sheet from if you're living in San Francisco, the San Francisco Bay Guardian. I would generally support most of everything that they support. Take that into the voting booth with you if you can't remember when to vote for. You want to hit the tweet button and tweet it out again. That would be really cool. I'll let everybody know that we're out here tweeting. Or we're out here. We're out here right across from City Hall. San Francisco's favorite building, believe it or not. Architectural marble. The largest dome in the Western Hemisphere. There's only one other dome in the world larger than our City Hall, and that's St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican City in Rome. So, true architectural marble. So if you're visiting San Francisco, I would recommend checking it out. Well worth a visit. It's absolutely beautiful on the inside. Just because it's a city government, I don't know, it's a great building. If you're not married, it's a good place to go get married. You can actually rent it out for parties. I think it's $10,000 a night, but it is available. And one of the great public buildings here in San Francisco. We're lucky that it's still here. It was knocked off the dome was knocked off the pins during the last earthquake back in '89, major one, and they spent $4 billion fixing it. That's a lot of money, but they did a really good job, so the money was well spent. Okay, moving on. We're up to Prop 38, which is a tax to fund education and early childhood programs. And I noticed the federal government has cut out Head Start, which was a program for underprivileged youths to get breakfast when you're a little kid, and eating breakfast is really important. Lots more important. I mean, it's an important meal when you're an adult, but it's even more important when you're a child. And there needs to be more money spent on children. Without a doubt, they're our most precious resource. So, with that argument, I'm going to vote yes for that. Using a sliding scale, I can support that. Which means it means people that can most afford to pay will. So yeah. If I was rich, which I'm not, but I don't mind paying taxes as long as the money doesn't go to the Defense Department. That's why I've always felt like I've been a tax resistor and not supported paying my federal taxes. It's not that I don't support things like Head Start and Medicaid and Social Security, because I do. But I don't support money being spent on bombs and weapons to kill people. And although I support the soldiers, my dad was in the Army for 33 and a half years, I do support the personnel, But let's face it, you don't join the military because you want to get rich. Uh, you mainly join for retirement benefits and health benefits, and even those are getting cut out by the federal government. So when you support the Defense Department, and most of the dollars that you give in your taxes that pay for defense projects don't end up paying for soldiers, they end up paying for these juicy Defense Department contracts that end up going to places like Halliburton and XO, which are these large, like, paramilitary organizations. And it's not going for anybody's freedom, that's for damn sure. So that's why I don't support paying federal taxes. Okay, we're up to a tax treatment for multi-state businesses for clean energy and energy efficiency funding. Requires multi-state businesses to pay income taxes as a percentage of their sales in California. Now, we all know that multi-state, or should I say multinational corporations, generally evade their taxes and don't pay taxes for the most part. Even as a tax resistor and not paying federal income tax, I do pay other taxes, and my other taxes actually amount to more than what these corporations are paying. So definitely there's a need for multinational corporations to pay some taxes, goddammit. And we're not a family program here, by the way. So if you got little kids here and you don't want them to hear a bit of profanity every once in a while, I suggest that, I don't know, they're going to hear it sooner or later. We're not going to go off the hook with it, but every once in a while there's issues that I feel passionate about. So expletive is usually the way I feel because I'm so frustrated with this political system. Even this voting here is bullshit for the most part. I don't support it, but we're going to move on. So yes, more taxes for corporations. That should be pretty much a no-brainer. Okay, redistricting. A lot of gerrymandering on the political process with redistricting. I'm just going to say no on that one. No on redistricting, if you can see it. That's if you can see it. No. Now these are my endorsements. I'm not going to... You don't even got to vote if you don't want to. I'm not going to get mad at you. But come out in support of No on 37. Big one. Temporary tower. We voted on this one. Okay, let's turn it over. Oh wow, we're done almost. Woohoo! We're gonna move on with the next long ballot here. General elections are generally long. Now we're moving on to the local measures here in San Francisco. So you get to, you don't live here in San Francisco, you're not a registered voter here in the city and county of San Francisco, these won't have that much to do with you. But if you live here, these are important issues. And number one is City College. So you're definitely going to know that I'm inclined to vote for this, to provide City College with funds that the state can't take away, offset budget cuts, prevent layoffs, provide affordable quality education for students. I don't just need to go on any further. Yes. Like I said, when I first moved to California in '81, it was free to go to college here in the state of California. You could enroll at any community college and get a free education. That's something we need to bring back, right? I guess I'm a conservative when I say that kind of stuff because I'm going for something that used to be reality here in the state of California. So our next one is for clean and safe neighborhood bonds, park bonds. Our parks here in San Francisco are very important. We have one of the best public park systems in the United States here in San Francisco. We have more acres per capita devoted to parks than any other city, I'd say, except for maybe Washington, D.C. So we're all cramped up here and crowded here in San Francisco. Most people don't have backyards, so having a public park that you can go to where it's clean, where there's not drug dealing and whatnot, people pooping in the park, and that happens. It's important to have clean water when you go to the park and get a drink of water. So yes, I'm going to vote yes on that one. It's 195 mil. It's a drop in the bucket when you consider things here in the state of California. So yes, or a city. So yes on B. Speaking of clean water, I got to stop here for a second and get a drink of water. I'm getting a little hoarse. I'm trying to speak up against all this traffic so you can hear. So hopefully out there, is the phone buzzing at all? Phone buzzing? Like when people tweet it, or like want to communicate?
The phone buzzed about a couple of times.
Okay, good. People are retweeting. Yeah, if you have any questions about the ballot, feel free. I'll show Ahmed how to respond here in a second. Right. When you're doing your drinking water, we're real fortunate here in San Francisco that our water comes straight from the mountains, from mountain runoff and snow runoff. So we have great water here in San Francisco. It's the best that I've ever tasted, like public water. It's not recycled water. It's not been treated. A little bit of fluoride, I guess, but by and large, this is water straight from the source. We're really lucky to have it. Environmentally, it has dammed up. That's an issue that we're going to get to here in a minute. But clean water here in San Francisco and California in general is really important. And as a matter of fact, if you're going to look for a place for the next war to start, issue of the future, it's going to be over clean water. And countries are going to be fighting each other for clean water. That is, unless we have this leap of consciousness in humanity. Can't live without it. So we're lucky we have really good water here in San Francisco. Yep. Oh well. So yeah, what you do is you get a container, and our water is good enough here where you can just fill it up out of the tap. There's a city program that deals with that, actually even educating people that our water, the quality of water is actually better than what you can get in a bottle of water that you buy from the store. So having clean, free water here in San Francisco is really important. So I'll get to that issue here. We'll skip down here. Well, let's just keep going on the ballot here. I'm not going to skip. So before we get started again, let me check out the camera there, Ahmed, for a second. Ahmed, he's a newbie. He has a live stream, so I'm trying to school him a little bit. We got a little button here, and let's see if anybody's communicated with us. Now, see at the bottom there, if anybody tweets in, right, that'll let you know if anybody's tweeted in. That's how we communicate with the audience. Anyway, I'll tweet out one more time. And we're back to the ballot. Thanks, Ahmed, for doing this. All right, moving on with the ballot stuff. Long ballot, huh? Okay, now we're on the Prop C. So you know how I'm voting on that one. But Prop C is shall the city amend its charter to create a housing trust fund that supports affordable housing for low-income and moderate-income households and change the affordable housing requirements imposed on some private residential developments. Oh yeah. San Francisco, we have the second highest housing cost in the country. I think it is the highest. It's actually harder to find a place here than it is in New York, which is generally considered to be the most expensive place to live. If you've ever been to New York, though, you'll understand why. More people. But it's harder to find a place here in San Francisco. Okay, so yes on C. All right, now we're moving on. We're on up to D. Shall the city amend its charter change the election cycle for city attorney and treasurer so that these officers would be elected at the same time as mayor, sheriff, and district attorney. Nah, I say no. Let's keep it split up. It'll maintain some interest in the ballot during off-year elections. But at the same time, it allows corporate interests to devote more money. So I think I'm not going to vote on that one. I'm going to abstain. Okay, E. Gross receipts tax, designed to eliminate or reduce the tax on payroll costs and increase business registration fees. It is pretty hard to do business here in the city of San Francisco. To get started, there is a payroll tax already. Yeah, I'm not going to yell over this buzz. But that's kind of a sneaky one. I know corporations don't want a payroll tax. My head says vote no on this, so I'm going to vote no. Alright, Prop F. This is the water one. Shall the city prepare a two-phase plan that evaluates how to drain the Hetch Hetchy so it can be restored by the National Park Service and identify replacement? Where in the hell are we going to get water from here in San Francisco if they take away Hetch Hetchy? We already voted to spend billions of dollars to renovate the system. You could say this could be environmental. I would love to see the valleys of Hetch Hetchy, but it's already there. We're already kind of like dependent on that. All of our public power comes from the hydroelectric power that's generated there. For instance, all these overhead lines you see here in the city to run Speedy, those are all paid for with, those are all powered by Hetch Hetchy electricity. So we need to keep Hetch Hetchy. It is a valuable public resource. Yosemite is a tourist trap anyway. So I'm going to vote no on this. No, don't fuck with it. G. Oh, this is a sweet one. Shall it be a city policy? A corporation should not have the same constitutional rights as human beings and should be subject to political spending limits. Oh, yes. That's a no-brainer. Hell no. Corporations are not human beings. Let's get that straight. Regardless of what they said in Citizens United, since when is a corporation a human being? When has a corporation ever been convicted of a crime? Do corporations actually have to serve time if they're convicted? No. So they're not human beings. Case closed. Alright, I think we're almost done here. Woohoo. I'm getting kind of hungry, man. It's long. It takes forever, huh? I know I got a big mouth. And I've got an opinion about everything. Anyway, I'm just kidding around. I think that's it. Let's check it out. We'll give you one last recap here. Make sure I got everything filled out correctly before we put it in the old envelope. Yeah, the only reason I even have this envelope, oh, here it is. The only reason I'm kind of doing this for y'all, believe it or not, is I didn't plan on doing this live streaming. But I didn't get my absentee ballot until Saturday. So I figured, let's have a little bit of fun. And since I have to go over here to City Hall anyway, and drop this off. Why not live stream it for your edification? Okay. Sure, recap. We'll do it real quick here. We're not going to spend a lot of time. President, I voted for Roseanne Barr and Cindy Sheehan. Say what you will, but Obama's wrapped up the election here in California. So it's not a question of voting for a lesser of two evils here. Thank goodness. I'm voting with my head. And Roseanne, I believe you can do a better job than Obama or Romney or any of the other. Not like Johnson, but he's a professional politician. And Roseanne isn't. So I'd rather have somebody who's not a pro. Abstaining for Senator, no. Feinstein, no. Emkin. Abstaining for House of Reps, no. Nancy Pelosi, no. John Dennis. I'm not voting for either one of those. State Senator, District 11, Mark Leno. Yes, on Mark Leno. State Assembly, District 17, Tom Amiano over Jason Clark. I like Amiano. He's always been he's a number one supporter of medical marijuana here in the state of California. So that's where I'm going. School District, Joe Wynn was the only person I was familiar with. Community College, I abstained. BART Director, I voted for Luke Lucas. Okay, that's it for that ballot, so let's tear off our receipt. Let's make sure we do this right. Yeah, remove this stub. By the way, if you're looking for a job here in the city of San Francisco and you want to make a quick $170, come down here to the Board of Registrars office, Registrar of Voters, and they'll hook you up with a job right away. Tomorrow they need election officers to work at the polls. It's a pretty easy gig. You just sit on your butt most of the day and people vote and they get your ballot. And it's pretty easy. It's a good way to make $170, tax-free. And they always need people here in San Francisco. So, and now we're down to number 2, which is the state ballots. Just a quick rundown. Yes on 30, temporary tax. No on 32, which is the payroll political contributions by unions. Auto insurance, voted no. Death penalty, to repeal it, I voted yes. Human trafficking, no more laws. It's too narrowly defined. 3 strikes, to repeal it, yes. Genetically engineered foods, label them, definite yes. Tax to fund education, early childhood programs, a definite yes. 39, tax treatment for multi-state businesses, clean energy, yes. Redistricting, no. Too much trouble. We already got the people in there we want right now here in San Francisco. That's it on the state ones. Alrighty, and then our last one, last but not least, the local initiatives, which in San Francisco are generally the most interesting ones you can vote for on the ballot, generally the most liberal, more radical, leaning towards more radical stuff. I remember back in 1986, I was very active in the anti-apartheid movement, and we passed a local measure here to outlaw the city of San Francisco doing business with the state of South Africa. And that was a real pivotal moment in history because that totally changed the playing field for multinationals doing business in South Africa because they couldn't support apartheid anymore. And that kept me out of jail because I got arrested at a demonstration at Pier 80 to keep some cargo being unloaded from a South African ship. And they dropped all the charges on me. They were serious charges, too. I was charged with 4 felonies. And they had to drop them all because of city policy. Anyway, we get to Prop A, which is to fund City College, definite yes. Clean and safe neighborhood parks fund. Prop B, yes. Prop C, a housing trust fund, yes. D, no vote on changing the election cycle for city attorney and treasurer. E, gross receipts tax, no. City preparing a 2-phase plan on how to drain Hetchy, no. G, corporations having the same constitutional rights as human beings, no. Or yes. Shall not have this, yes. And that's it. And there's your 2012 general election California ballot. I'm going to sign this and we'll turn it in. So there you have it, folks. Here's my endorsements for the general election ballot. Thanks a lot for watching. Thank Ahmed here for his camera work. And I'll be seeing you tonight. We'll be live streaming the Occupy Forum if you're in San Francisco. That's located at 2969 Mission Street at 24th. Easily accessible by BART. That starts at 6 p.m. So I hope to see you there. And thanks a lot for watching. And hopefully you'll vote early and vote often tomorrow if you haven't voted already. So signing out. Here we go. And that's all we wrote. See you later.